back, everybody, to another episode of the Nonprofit Show. We're really excited because we're dealing with 3 different time zones today, which we often deal with at least 2 different time zones. But this is even more impressive because our guest today, Kylee Ingram, is coming to us from, wait for it, Australia. Welcome, Kylee.
Thank you. I've even put on the accent for you, so it's believable.
Okay, even more believable. What time is it in your world right now?
I can't even tell you. I think it's 3:30, but that's, it's a good time to get up.
It's an AM.
The rest of the day, 3:30 a.m.
AM, right. I mean, if it was 3:30 p.m., I'd be like, okay, whatever. But AM, you're a warrior, my friend. You are a warrior.
Well, we've got important things to talk about.
We do. We're going to talk about the science of communication today and why some messages work and others don't. It's such a frustration for us in the nonprofit sector as we're trying to navigate really important messages. One message we have here today is that we are supported by amazing companies. They include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, Fundraisers Friday, and JMT Consulting. I'm Julia C. Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy, joined today by my amazing co-host, Sherry Quam Taylor of Quam Taylor. Good morning, Miss Sherry.
Hi, Julia. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to see you today.
Likewise.
I mentioned in the green room to you ladies, I was going to pimp the architecture of fundraising really quickly because Tony Bell, one of our other nonprofit show co-hosts, and I over the summer have written a book. And it's called The Architecture of Fundraising. You can get it on Amazon. And if you are engaged in any aspect of fundraising, I think you'll find it interesting, and we'd love to know what you think about it. Okay, Kylee, wake up, my friend, because even though it's 3:30 where you are, talk to us about Wizer and Wizer Technologies before we get into this conversation.
Yeah, well, Wizer was, thanks for having me this morning. Wizer was built to help people make decisions. And I think if we dig into this, we're actually trying to address the structural problems that distort how decisions are made. And, that's bias. Too often, there's a small amount of people making the decisions. And they replicate themselves. And that's not malicious, it's just human bias. So we're trying to address those things. And then I guess, when you look at society, social platforms, some of the largest, most powerful companies in the world, and they make money in conflict entrepreneurship by keeping people siloed and in echo chambers. And if you run a company, you can't do that. So for Wizer, that's how we began. And one of the key parts of Wizer is our 7 decision profiles. And they took us a couple of years to pull together. They came out of primarily of research from a woman called Juliette Bourke, who was at Deloitte, who wrote a book, Which Two Heads Are Better Than One. And she wrote about, decision frameworks. And we gave her a call and, we've created the 7 archetypes.
Wow. Well, we'll get into that, what they are. I mean, Sherry, I see you going, oh, man, yeah.
Well, I'd love that. I mean, I don't love the phrase, but conflict entrepreneurship. I'm like, I was sitting here going, oh my gosh, what a phrase. And we see so many, I guess, people running their business that way. So I'm anxious to unpack that.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's eroding the fabric of trust in society. But you can't and it causes things like toxic culture and talent hides, and you can't run a business like that. So it's very important that businesses are making sure that they're bringing their people together.
Yeah,
right. Well, so let's start with the kind of the foundational question of why personalization misses the mark or can miss the mark. Because I feel, Kylee, that's what we're drumming into our heads all the time. Personalize. Help us understand what you're seeing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, I've just spoken about making decisions and making decisions better, how does that relate to comms? Well, a charity in Australia came to us and said, hey, could we use your decision profiles to work out how to talk to people? And I said, yes, of course. How else are you doing? How are you doing it? And I guess reflecting, because I've seen the emails come through, I was like, oh, yeah. And, we got talking to the charity about how they could use, the decision profiles and get to it. As we started to dig deeper into what was personalization beyond this one charity, into, marketing firms that are personalizing emails. It might say to you, Sherry, how's your dog and your cat and your whatever, or whatever else they know about you. But that's not how you make a decision. And one of the really interesting conversations I had was with a guy, and he said, oh, could you import 10,000 of my database and tell me what they are? And I said, yes, I could, but data in is data out. What is your data that you know about people that's relevant to their decision profile? And it was minimal, if anything. There's no way for most people we would have been able to get with a high percentage of what they, what kind of decision profile they had. So it also made me realize, in an area I hadn't thought about much, is people really aren't collecting the right data when it comes to personalization. And the tools that do kind of look at people's personality or how they write, they're replicating that, how they write back to them, and things like that. And it, none of it is really hitting the mark as to how somebody makes a decision.
Wow. Okay. So that's kind of frightening, because we're in such a rush to get these names and email addresses, and then not being strategic about it. I kind of feel like there's a message there that's like, don't even bother if you don't start out with a more strategic approach. Does that make sense?
Look, 100%. It's quite surprising how far people are off the mark. And the other thing we're seeing now that we've run, what we've created is a program called Wise Snaps to do it. So it'll give you a speculative decision profile. It will look at your comms and then live replicate and tell you what's right and wrong about it. And it will then generate a new email for you based on that person and their decision profile. And what I think we're seeing, we launched an MVP with that. It was only about 6 weeks ago, and we've got 1,000 users in 48 hours. People were like, wow, this is fun. I think it was also fun and magic, a little bit of magic. And what I think we're seeing was collaborators are writing the emails. And so they write them in this very, fun kind of way. This is, before we get into the decision profiles, but it really misses the mark on these, especially these other people like guardians, analyzers, and achievers. It really doesn't hit the mark there.
So let's get into this then, because we want to make sure that we understand what these 7 decision styles or profiles look like, because I'm absolutely fascinated by this. So Kylee, dig in with us.
Yeah, so Juliette's research was really talking about, the different factors that come into a decision. And, with Wizer, we're only collecting the data that is relevant to decisions. And one of the things is these decision profiles are looking at your cognitive diversity. And she found people come at decisions in a certain way. And you can have a primary and a secondary, but most people do not move from that. And so we've come up with, the 7 names for them. And you've got an achiever who's very results and focus driven. You've got an analyzer that prioritizes accuracy and evidence. You've got a collaborator, and you would think, oh, that's a people person. Kind of, it's a person that sees the value of other people in a decision. So they'll go around. They don't have to be the warmest person or anything like that. It's just that they see the value of other people in a decision. The visionary is a bit more open to how decisions are made. They're open. It's just about, that's where a bit of the personality profiling we've done comes into it. The explorer, they're really into options. You know, that person that's like, oh, but we could do this, and I found this, and I know this. And then you've got the rarest of profiles, which is the guardian. They're really focused. They can be long-term thinkers, focused on assessing and mitigating the risk. And then you've got the deliverer, and they're very process orientated in how they come to a decision. And 75% of what Juliette found was 75% of CEOs in the Western world, at least, come into two buckets, which is, the achiever and the deliverer. And so, a lot of not-for-profits are reaching out to these people, and they're not writing in a way that is landing with the people at the top of the chain that they're looking at.
Wow, I love this. So this is reminding me, one of my coaches, we did a lot of archetype work, and this was so eye-opening to me. You said the word archetype earlier, so I was wondering if this was going to kind of be somewhat similar. But oh my gosh, it's helped me so much just show up differently. And it's resonating so much with me of like, I do major donor work. So it's like, who are major donors? They're CEOs, they're people running big corporations, and are we speaking their language? So this is incredible, just information for fundraisers. I can't wait to learn more.
Yeah, and when you see the emails rewritten, especially for those analyzers, guardians, and achievers, like once you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that now. And if you think about it, you just need to have 7 templates now. In a way, it's a calming thought.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
If you work out your 7 templates off each email and you understand what the people are, yes, it takes a little bit of time and thought.
Yes.
And there's something else we can get to about how you profile them. There's points to think about there, but I think it's quite a nice thing to think, okay, I've just got to get to the 7 and I'm in a really good spot.
Right.
Kylee, let me ask you this. You talked about the written word, but so much of what our modern digital communications has a huge visual component. And that is from working off our phones or to email previews. Do you see a correlation between the visual aspect of this communication, or are you strictly talking about the written word?
We don't have the ability to analyze the images yet. We are talking about the written word, but I think you're absolutely right. I mean, there's, so many layers that you can add to this as to what it might be. It might not be a furry animal in distress in a hospital. It might be a graph showing, how you're going to spend your money, or the vision, the vision for the future, whatever it is. Yeah, it'd be good to change or at least do A/B tests as well. Mm-hmm. But I think, if there was a really good example, Juliette uses a woman, giving a presentation that knew about it. She just changed to make sure that in her talk for an hour that there was something for each of the people. Mm-hmm. And she said it was the most successful talk she ever gave, because she was thinking about that in terms of how it reaches people. And it was funny because when Julia and I have been talking about the comms, we've always been talking about where it would go. And I thought it was going to be wiser when we send out a decision to be made, we were going to split it into 7 ways, but so it could be heard differently to the people that we've already assessed. But it's funny how this tool kind of came up because the not-for-profit sector asked for it.
Hmm. Yeah. And so, I guess we're always preaching in the nonprofit sector, build relationships. You must deeply know your donors. We got to be way beyond surface to be able to, figure out which one of these 7 profiles this person might be. Like, how do you advise people to really kind of do that digging so they can know who they're speaking to?
Yeah, well, the lucky thing is we've made snaps for you. But and you just can type in what you know about them. We've done a how to create a profile from what we've learned, because if you put in things, you can pick up things from LinkedIn, which is great at surfacing clues, but basically everybody will sound almost like an achiever on LinkedIn, and often they're written by third parties. So looking for signals on LinkedIn about how they communicate is really important, and putting that in. I don't know whether you've come across an AI tool called Perplexity. It's really good about talking about who somebody is, especially if they're known. I'm talking, these are people that you can find out about. And we've written up a cheat sheet, a prompt, because all AI glorifies people. Like, it makes us all sound amazing. And I'm not saying the three of us are not amazing, but there's a glow, and the glow that I've noticed too is, especially CEOs and people high up, they now talk about their people, and these are not people orientated people. Some of them that I'm talking about that I know quite well who they are. So you've got to dig beyond that. So we've written up a prompt for people that says, look for real examples, avoid flattery, and all of this stuff, and it comes up with quite a good little, one paragraph on them. If you can copy in the emails direct from them, their text, not yours, or it confuses the system right now. That's helpful. But the thing where you get the most accurate reading is when you know them, and you can talk a little bit about what you've seen them in situations, how they do, what they're looking at when they do make decisions. That tends to come out the most accurately for people.
Makes sense.
Kylee, as somebody journeys across the landscape of their age, their demographics, their career, do these 7 traits change? Or if you identify somebody, let's say in their 30s, are they going to retain that same archetype when they're in their 60s?
It's really interesting that you say that, because with these, how I was talking about, the 75% of CEOs fall into 2 boxes.
Yeah.
What happens is, by middle management, everyone's mirroring them. So you might have a really broad band of the 7 in new teams or teams that are starting. And there's 2 main reasons, I'm butchering this a little bit, but why you get what we call cognitive drift. And you've got the CEO at the top, they start self-selecting one another. Then the people down here realize they need to do this a bit more. So they will change the way that they're making decisions. And by the time you get to middle management in your org, you're often, replicating what you see as what the person is at the top. And for organizations, that can mean a 20% reduction in innovation and a 30% decision error rate. Like, it will, if you don't do that, it reduces the decision error rate by being open to this, because you're keeping that full breadth of the way somebody comes at decisions, and allows you to actually be a much more innovative and productive company.
Right.
So yes and no. It depends on where you are and what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah, I always say everybody's taking their cue from the leader. And so I do see that, or just even characteristics, or how we host a meeting, or how we're communicating. And I love the thought of being able to keep those 7 different types, and what value that brings to a leadership team, or to decisions, or strategic planning for a company.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, Sherry, I agree with you on that, because that's just, we talked about that diversity, action indeed. That's what we need with our teams. I almost think, because of this conversation, should we start employing this technology and understanding these theories internally with our own teams before we go out and do this with our donor bases? Because this is a nuanced thing, right? If we misidentify somebody, then that's kind of a problem, right?
Yes, definitely. And, we've got a couple of things on the website. The decision profiles are free, the full profiles. They take about 10 minutes, so you can do your own profile there, no problem. And then Snaps is the one at the end that does your comms and your speculative decision profiles. And the reason why we moved, the fundraising out of that was out of doing the full decision profiles with their benefactors and people, was because they told me they didn't want, a couple of not-for-profits they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to ask their benefactors to do it. So we went the other way. So there's a couple of options there. And then those of the not-for-profits that want to, we can put you all into one org, and you can start to see what you have and break it down by group and say, or teams, and say, look, our marketing team is a whole lot of this and this, because you kind of want to, when you're making decisions, mix it up. So understanding what you have, we see a lot of boards using it too, just for their own board assessment as to the cognitive diversity they have. Like, if you think of one of the really good examples in the book is Enron. Enron's board looked different. They thought they were ticking the box of diversity, but they were all 100% the same cognitive diversity. So the decision came quickly, and it was the same decision. So,
Interesting.
You can't see this unless you're aware of it.
Yeah. Julia, this reminds me of, like, sometimes when you bring up the value of multi-generational boards, even, like, I feel like what this just supports that, because me at 25 might be, I'm not mirroring leadership yet. And I think that just adds to so many of the conversations we've had. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, it's really an interesting way to look at this, Sherry, because I feel in the nonprofit sector, so much of what we talk about and think about is kind of like resource directed. Basically, how wealthy are these people that we're talking about? We think of it as a book, right? Like, can they write the big check? Versus a more strategic look at what their profile might be, so that we can engage them forever and ever, right? Versus
it is. Next level donor segmentation, really.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Kylee, I could talk to you forever, but unfortunately we don't have forever to talk about. Now we are wrapping up the year. We're looking at 2026, which at some point sounded so far down the road, but it is here in just a few months. Using the technology, resetting our brains to think about the people we work with and live with and communicate with differently. How are you thinking about 2026 and the differences there?
I mean, with comms, I think AI helps people write better, which is great, especially for those of us that have never enjoyed writing that much. I think it's, a great tool, but it's just helping you write better. It's not helping you write the right message necessarily. And, you've got AI systems and bots and loops, and, you can almost have an automated sales team. So that means more and more communication. And I think it's more important than ever to set yourself apart. People are using video to reach out, but you also have to understand when to use that, or else it can be a bit creepy. So knowing your audience and really, I think people want to get faster and faster, like that guy, he wants to put 10,000 people through it. But I think there's something also about slow down, get it right, and then start to move a little bit faster. Like, know who you're talking to, especially in the donor industry. I guess you can burn your bridges really quickly, and it's very important for not-for-profits to get that right. Whereas, if I'm sending out an email for Wizer to use a free decision profile, the stakes are much lower. I can just annoy somebody. You've got to be careful, I think, about how you're talking to people and take, I think people can tell when you've taken the time to write something.
You nailed it. That's everything. Like, I'm feeling like I just hung up with a call right before this. It's like, how are we thanking people, even like thinking of these profiles, even in acknowledging gifts? Or it's like, is it the form letter that's, thank you for your tax deductible gift? Or is it personalized, to something that is, valuable to this donor, or suitable to their communication profile. It's such a rich concept, frankly, that could be integrated in every step of a donor's journey.
And one other thing I'm seeing, and I don't know what it means long term, is it's not just fun. If I had to look at the main people using it, it's not just fundraising, it's women using it before they go into meetings. And from what they've been telling me, they use it with their texts, they use it before they go into meetings, and it's women using it. Wow. And so I think there's something to unpack there, but might be for another day.
Yeah, that is chapter 2, because I love that topic.
Well, I think there's a lot of gender specific approaches to communication. How do we, as females, how do we communicate forcefully and confidently? It is a different ecosystem when it's being delivered by, the traditional corporate man, right? I mean, so I can see that there would be some gender approaches to this, and especially in an environment where maybe you're newer or you're younger or you're not as confident within that structure. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of arm yourself with ways to respond. Just like Sherry said, how you choose to thank people and operate your relationship in the nonprofit world is oftentimes the difference between holding somebody for a few months or their lifetime. Mm-hmm. And beyond, if you're talking about bequests, right? If somebody's going to donate their will or their estate to the organization. Yeah. What a fascinating conversation. This has really been a lot of fun. I'm impressed, Kylee, that you would be this sharp at 3:30 in the morning Australian time.
Imagine how sharp I am at 9. I just want to.
Yeah, I believe it.
But then we wouldn't be so good, right?
Right.
Well, I do what I can to make you two look good. No, just kidding. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, it's just been so interesting. And I really, again, I'm so grateful that we could have met and had this conversation, because I feel, and Sherry, I think, echoed the same thing. This is next level strategy for our communications, how we run our nonprofits, how we look at those relationships and those communications. Super interesting stuff. Kylee Ingram, she's the CEO and co-founder of Wizer Technologies. You have to go to their site, wizer.business, and you can learn out these approaches that they're taking, the science behind communications. And as Kylee mentioned, there's some opportunities for some free engagement and to learn more about these 7. Is profile the right word?
You can call them whatever you like, Julia. Yes, profiles or archetypes, whatever works.
Yeah, I think archetypes is probably a better word, because I think it's very, very interesting. Sherry, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go on and take my own assessment.
Yep, I'm hopping on. I'll spread the word, help spread the word, Kylee.
Thank you very much, you two. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's made me think about things in a little bit different way. And so I'm super excited to kind of engage with your technology and learn if what I think about myself is what you have identified, right? I think that will be kind of one of those magical things. It's like what we think we are and what we really are might not necessarily.
Yeah, it's very easy to diagnose others. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's the perfect description, Sherry. That's the perfect description. Hey, we have great conversations daily on the Nonprofit Show. Last Friday was our 1,400th episode, which sadly we didn't even acknowledge. It just kind of came and went because we were so busy. But these folks that you see on our screen, they pretty much all of them been with us from the beginning. And they include our friends over at Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, Fundraisers Friday, and JMT Consulting. These are the folks that, like I said, have been with us day in and day out. Sherry Kwam Taylor, wow, really fun to have you on this journey this morning.
Thanks for having me as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. As we end each and every episode of the Nonprofit Show, we end with this message, and it goes like this: to stay well so you can do well.